Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, wonderful, intelligent, inspirational wife, Michelle.
Oh, thank you, baby. Hello, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, January 19th, 2020. It was a big week out at Disneyland this week. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. It's also Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend, and that is going to lead into our main topic, which we'll get to in just a second here.
That's right. And talk about an inspirational person. It doesn't get any better than that. And so we're very happy to be kind of our little nod or tribute to the great Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a little taste of what we have coming up for you today. Thank you for joining us today. As a matter of fact, in the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. And while you're there, why don't you just take a second and sign up for the newsletter? It gives you all sorts of information about what we have coming up, what we've already done in the past. And we've even gotten some responses this week to this week's show straight from people who read it off the newsletter first.
Right. They knew about it in advance. That's such a great idea. Sign up for the newsletter. Do it. Why not? Go ahead. It'll be fun.
Get some inspiration behind you and sign up for the newsletter. We like to be a very interactive show, as we just talked about with the newsletter. We're also very interactive on social media. And you can follow us there on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to contact us for any other reason at any time, you can always email us at HyperionAdventurespodcast@gmail.com.
Right. And we really enjoy interacting with people. We've actually made quite a few great new friends through that. And I guess that's why they call it social media.
It is very social out there. We have a lot of fun with a lot of you out there on social media. And if you're not following along with us there, we'd like to have you join in all that fun. So please follow us on those social media platforms and follow some of our friends too that you'll see us interacting with.
Yeah. And let us know what you think of the show or some ideas or feedback. We always love it.
Yeah. The best thing you can do is tell a friend about this show. It's the best way to get the word out, word of mouth about this show. You could also, if you had a little bit of time, just click on whatever your podcast platform is and give us a rating, or even better, if you wanted to give us a few words and say a review, give us a review and tell us how we're doing. We'd appreciate that very much, just so we know how we're doing as a show, but also it allows others to find our show that much easier.
Right. It's really appreciated for any podcast that goes on, but we really love the feedback that we've received, and thank you for those of you who have either provided a rating or a review. Thank you.
I appreciate every single one of you, whether you haven't, just for listening to the show. We love all our Hyperion adventurers just like you. Lots of stuff for you on today's show, including Star Wars Rise of the Resistance opened this week at the Disneyland Resort. We'll talk a little bit about that, as well as a couple of other items that are making their debut at the West Coast version of Black Spire Outpost.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, in particular, the child or Baby Yoda, whichever you prefer, there's a new way coming for you to bring him into your home.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that. But let's get to our main topic of the week. And we just kind of hinted at it a little bit. Yes, it is Martin Luther King Jr., the holiday weekend, celebrating the greatness that is Martin Luther King Jr., such an inspirational person, obviously fighting for civil rights, but just in general, just an amazing icon that left us far too soon, unfortunately assassinated, but just a fantastic person that inspires us every single day.
Right. I mean, it's inspiring to see somebody who, at quite a young age still, was able to impart so much to last through our history and of our country, and that's awesome, and it inspires us.
Right. We are inspired by him, and I know this is a little bit of a stretch on what we're going to use for inspire, but
he inspired us for this show.
We decided that we were inspired by him, just as Michelle said there, to go back and do our 5 favorite list, and we also wanted to bring in some music again because you seem to love our musical episodes.
As do we.
Yes, do we.
It's fun.
So we decided to go ahead and go for our 5 favorite inspirational Disney songs, right?
Yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr., inspirational Disney songs. It works, right?
Connect the dots, yes.
It's a long way from A to Z there, connecting the dots, but it works for us. So we're going to give you our 5 favorite Disney inspirational songs, as well as some of that you have sent in to us. And, you know, we always tend to cheat a little bit on this as well. So we'll give our 5 favorites, but I'm sure at the end there'll be a couple more that we'll just kind of mention as honorable mention. To try to pretty much play every song that Disney ever put out. But we always start these things whenever we do our 5 favorites with Michelle, because one, her lists are always awesome. My list will be pretty humdrum. It'll be pretty much what you expect. But Michelle's list will be amazing. You know, just when you think she's going left, she'll go right, whatever the case may be. So let's start right with Michelle and her 5th favorite inspirational Disney song.
Okay, so before I even announce it, one of the things that, if you do listen to our podcast regularly, you probably have picked up that we don't share our information throughout the week. So, but with this one, and we didn't, I just have a sense that we probably have a fair amount of duplication. So it'll be interesting to see.
Wouldn't shock me if there's at least 2 or 3 songs on our list that we match up at some point. Yeah.
So, but for my number 5 is Try Everything from Zootopia.
I won't give up, no, I won't give in till I reach the end, and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I wanna try everything. I wanna try even though I could fail. I'll keep on making those new mistakes. I'll keep on making them every day. Those new mistakes. Try everything. Try everything. Try everything. Try everything.
Love that choice. It is on my list. I'm not going to tell you where at this point,
All
but
right.
it is on my list.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I love this song for my running. It's in my, training repertoire. Obviously it's upbeat. If you're listening to this podcast in the car and you didn't feel like you needed to bop or anything to it, I don't know. But, it has the right lyrics to keep you going. And, I'm going to say this. It's going to sound like I'm trying to be boastful. I'm not. But I love in the movie when Judy Hopps says, I don't know when to quit. And I feel like that a lot of times, not in a smart way, just more like stubborn persistence, I guess. But anyways, I also think the song can help remind you that, it's good to go out of your comfort zone from time to time and try something new, whether it's food or it's a hobby or it's an activity. Sometimes just setting a goal for yourself to say, okay, for the next 30 days, I'm going to do something every single day, whether it's, making journal entries or taking photographs or whatever, but kind of get out of your norm, out of your comfort zone and try something.
Love it. I'll get into my reasons why this is on my list when we get to that number on my list. It's not number 5. It's higher than that on my list. I'll tell you that right now. But I love your reasoning behind it. But I'll discuss more of my feeling on it as we progress on through the show.
So I'm looking forward to your number 5.
Ooh, my number 5. Well, as we all know, hashtag real men love Frozen.
Show yourself. Step into your power. Grow yourself into something new. You are the one you've been waiting for. Show yourself.
Why was it not surprising?
I know no one should be shocked by this. Although this wasn't on my list originally, and then as I was getting songs together for this, it jumped into the list ahead of some other songs that I had as possibilities there. But the interesting thing about this one, the music for Frozen 2. The more I listen to it, the more I love it. It's so good. This song in particular, I know Into the Unknown has obviously it's gotten nominated for all the awards.
Right.
It's nominated for an Academy Award, as a matter of fact. But I feel that this song is much more important. While Into the Unknown is great, and I love Into the Unknown as well, and it's a little more catchy.
Right.
This song I think has more meaning. It's more important. Right. It's Elsa saying, look, I'm putting myself out there. You have to put yourself out there. Show yourself. This is who I am. I think it's a fantastic song. It's strong throughout it, and go back and listen to it. Listen to the lyrics. There's more into it. I try and cut these to around 40 seconds or so. Some of these added some music to get the most impact out of them without stretching this episode into a 2-hour episode. But go back, listen to it. It's a powerful song. It's a wonderful song, and it comes at a hugely important time in the film.
Right. And it is a great message, learn to be comfortable in your skin and, share that with people and they'll love you and appreciate you for it.
It basically completes Elsa's journey through the 2 films and the shorts that we have seen,
Right.
No
spoilers.
No spoilers, but I'm just telling you that's
the meaning of the song.
Right. And the funny thing about it is that they told us at D23 there were going to be 2 big Elsa numbers within the movie.
Right.
When we heard all of Into the Unknown,
right?
Because there wasn't really tremendous spoilers involved with that, but they're like, we can't share this one with you yet,
right?
Because it's hugely spoiler filled. So if you haven't seen Frozen 2 yet and you don't want spoilers for the end of the film, wait and listen to it till after you've seen the film. Otherwise, if you've already seen it or if you don't care, just go out and listen to it. It is a strong, strong song.
Right.
Right. So that's my number 5 most inspirational Disney song. Now we're to number 4. Michelle, what is your number 4 most inspirational Disney song?
Okay. And don't laugh.
I will not laugh. Well, I can't promise that. I might laugh a little bit.
Bare Necessities from the Jungle Book.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Yeah, with just the bare necessities of life.
Love the bare necessities. Why is that one of your most inspirational? It's interesting because everybody takes the term inspirational in different ways. And I've looked at some of our listeners have sent things in and they see things differently. I didn't necessarily get inspired by the bare necessities, but I want to know why you thought of it was.
All right. Well, when thinking of this episode and the songs and everything, it dawned on me that sometimes we really look for big things and big plans to make us happy, and we forget that life is filled with those non-essential, simple things that can equally bring us joy. And, I had already made this decision and started preparing this before yesterday because I'm not always last minute. But anyways, I did see yesterday there was a tweet from one of our followers that we also follow. And I apologize if I'm going to say his name wrong. Nick Salcedo. Okay, thank you. He's at TTA_team_lead. And he put out there a picture of an early sunrise time on Bay Lake. And his tweet said, one of my favorite things to do while in Walt Disney World is sit out on the balcony. I'm getting choked up. Yeah, and watch the sunrise, drinking a cup of coffee. Such a relaxing way to start the day before chaos ensues in the park. And how true is that? And we've done that. We've had that same view from Bay Lake Tower in the morning and enjoyed that moment of serenity and saying, wow, we're in such a special place and we're going to have fun. And even if you're not staying at that resort, you're staying at any resort, taking the moment to watch your kids getting dressed and see the excitement in their faces as they're getting ready, and it's in that moment that's the pure, simple pleasure that can fill you with joy. And so that's the message I get from this song, you know. And for those of you who love Disney, Star Wars, and the parks, there are so many fabulous experiences that are, you know, going to fill you with happiness and fun. But like Nick says, before that chaos starts, take a moment and really enjoy that moment. Or like with my other saying, look up. You know, it's kind of that whole phenomenon, and taking that time to really appreciate it. And for me, this really started coming to my being when Scott was born and told he had Down syndrome. And you know what I thought was going to bring happiness and joy in the path that his life and our life would take was all of a sudden jumbled up and, you know, like, okay, remake, start over, reboot. And getting to be with him has really taught me to appreciate that although life doesn't always present you with the path that you're expecting or striving, it still can be filled with joy. And a lot of times it's those minor or smaller things in life that can bring that joy. So that's how I found inspiration.
Excellent.
It regrounds me in the life.
That's well explained, and now I totally understand why
thank
Bare Necessities is on your list. Like I had a
Sorry,
problem with it to
long-winded
begin with,
there.
but no, that's perfectly well said, and I totally get it, and that's great. And by the way, Nick Salcedo, who you were mentioning, is also one of the people who sent us his list as well, so we'll be going over that later. Nick, great friend out there on Twitter. We have great conversations and fun with him out there as well, and he's part of the Monorail family, like a subset of the Monorail family. Is like a Monorail cousin. So,
Fingers
the
in
Monday
the air.
Morning Monorail podcast, who we again great friends of ours.
Yes.
So that's great. That's Michelle's number 4. My number 4 comes from a movie that you may not really think of right off the bat, but I think it has some of the best music, if not the very best music, of virtually any film within the Disney oeuvre, and that is The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Up there, strolling by the Seine, taste the morning out there, like ordinary men who freely walk about there. Just one day, and then I swear I'll be content.
So yes, that is Out There from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And the one thing I love about that song, I love the music from that film is just so very good. But the one thing I really love about that song is it talks about, look, it's tough, you know, and especially someone like Quasimodo, who, you know, has been up there in the bell tower for so long, afraid to go out, keep telling he's a monster, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, while that's an extreme version of that, we all go through a little bit of that, as far as, you know, whether it's, you know, not necessarily just going out into the street, but putting yourself out there into these various situations. And it's tough to convince yourself, like, you know, putting yourself out there when you're scared to do it, you know, like what are people going to say about me? What are people going to do? How are people going to react to me or whatever? But it's important to get yourself out there and do that. We've done that with this podcast. It was not an easy thing to decide to finally do. Put ourselves out there week in and week out. Is anybody ever going to listen? You know, people care what we have to say. And thankfully, you guys do. We really appreciate that. And I just appreciate that song and the feeling behind it of, you know, get yourself out there every once in a while. Even if you're a little afraid to do it, put yourself out there. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at what the results might be.
I totally agree with that. And yeah, it was a little hard leaving that one off my list, because it definitely was one that I was considering. It would be in my honorable mentions. And you're absolutely right. It's, inspiring, going against what you feel are the odds or the barriers for putting yourself out there. And you're totally right on a personal level, how this podcast was a scary journey to start even. And so
not even start. Every single episode we're like, is this the right topic? Are we going to get this out there? Or how are people going to like this topic? Are we just boring people? Or, whatever. Every single week, it's another one of like, we have to put ourselves out there.
It's true.
So we kind of go through it every single week. So that's my number 4 inspirational Disney song. Let's get to our number 3. Michelle, what is your third favorite inspirational Disney song?
Okay. My third favorite is Go to the Distance from Hercules.
I am on my way. I can go the distance. I don't care how far. Somehow I'll be strong. I know every mile will be worth my while. I would go most anywhere to find where I belong.
Actually, you picked the exact cut of the song that I was actually.
Once
I'm
in a
going to
while
quell.
I get it right.
I
Once in a
know.
while I get it right.
And again, bringing tears to my eyes. It's so funny because you're the one that really is the crier in the family, and when we do these episodes,
Except for the Disney songs that made us cry, I think we were both like a mess during that whole
that's true.
episode when we
That's
recorded
true.
that one.
And this one, it's funny because I don't want to say shallow. It may not be the deepest reason why I find this inspirational. It kind of, again, goes to the background of, running. And I know I've shared this story before, so I apologize for those of you who've heard it in the past, and I'll try to keep it more brief, that, with the running theme, when I did our first 5K, which was a Run Disney event, and I didn't feel like I had really prepped for it anyways. I know I hadn't. And there was a funny story how we ended up starting late. We weren't sure we were going to be on the course and everything, but it did work out. And we were getting kind of close to the end, and I was starting to really feel out of energy and just feeling, I'm just, gosh, is this really fun? And then this song played in my earbuds, and I just couldn't help but grin and then really start paying more attention to the words than my running, and really appreciated how important they were at that moment.
Wasn't that near at the finish line?
Yeah, it was near the. It was. I could see the finish line coming. It was kind of a little ways in the distance because it wasn't just like a straight run. There was kind of a run, but I knew I was getting close. And where it says like what you played. I'm on my way. I can go the distance. I don't care how far. Somehow I'll be strong. And edit that out.
Not a chance.
So it really did help, one, add fun again to the event at hand. It gave me a little bit more spark, a little bit more energy to, push myself a little bit more to get there, and even in the song where it talks about, when I get there, the crowds will be cheering. And I know not cheering for me specifically, but when you get to the finish line of a Run Disney event, there are so many people who are out there cheering everybody on. So it was just a fun way to experience that song. And ever since then, when I hear it, I've actually taken it off my training list, so I save it just for when we're on actual Run Disney events. And thank you, Alan Menken. That's all I can say, because that is a great song and it touches my heart.
Yeah, and it would have been on my list. It's an extremely inspirational song. It's an extremely inspirational song for me, but I knew, because I know the story, I knew it was going to be on your list. So I'm like, okay, well, it's going to play anyway. I can kind of move it, but it could have been anywhere on this list, up to possibly number 1 for me. But I just wanted to free up some more songs. So I'm like, okay, Michelle's going to have this. I will let her go ahead. When not looking at her list, I just assumed, because I knew the story, I knew how much this song impacted you. But it's a wonderful wonderful song about finishing things out. I can do this, and reminding yourself that you can do
Right.
these things.
Right.
It's an extremely inspirational song. It really a great
Yeah.
choice.
Well, thank
As
you.
I said, Michelle's list always the best.
Recycling that story. But
Right.
anyways, what's your number 3, honey?
My number 3, well, as we all know, hashtag real men love Frozen.
I'm never going back. The past is in the past. Let it go, let it go. When I rise like the break of dawn. Let it go, let it go. That perfect girl is gone. Here I stand in the light of day. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway.
No, I know that doesn't shock you.
No, it doesn't. What shocks me is that I didn't think about having my phone ready, because that would have been an awesome video.
At some point, we are going to put this show. We have plans to get this show on our YouTube channel, which we've sorely neglected, and we're going to be streaming it. We're not there yet, but probably thankfully fully because I don't know, maybe you would have enjoyed it, or you would have watched it horror as I go through
No,
that
not
song
horror.
every time. But I love "Let It Go" so very much. It's such an amazing song, but it's more importantly, it's a really inspirational song in the fact that look, Elsa is putting her past behind her, moving forward, stepping out into the light essentially, and saying, "Look, here I am."
Right.
Look at me. Forget what was back there. This is me right now. And I think that's very important for a lot of people. Forget the past, pushing through troubling times and moving forward, moving out into the light, getting yourself out there. A lot of these are going to be about getting yourself out there. Apparently I have trouble getting myself out there, and I need inspiration to do that. But also, the one thing about this song is that it is just an anthem. It is
Right.
it is a wonderful song for, yes, of course, young women, but I think everybody in general to listen to, stand up and say, yes, this is me. I'm going to let it go and I'm going to move forward.
Right. I mean, and for some people, like, it could be that, you feel that you've had some failures in the past, or you've made mistakes, or you've had regrets. And this can be kind of like that anthem, as you're saying, to, you know what, that's in the past. I can't change it. I'm going to move forward and make things better.
Right. And that's kind of the way I feel about that song. And it inspires me for, many reasons that I just talked about. Also, it inspires me, as Michelle just mentioned, to get out and sing it or lip sync it every single time. Now, you don't want to actually...
And there's some dancing going on,
you
folks.
don't-
There is dancing
You
going
don't want to actually
on.
hear me really sing it. But you may want to witness me at some point lip sync this song because it is fun. I have a great time with it. So that's my number 3. Let's get to our number 2 favorite inspirational Disney songs. Michelle, what is your number 2?
Okay, and so it's actually been a while since I've done this, but I have a 2A and B.
Oh, here we go. I told you at the beginning of the show that this was going to happen at some point.
But it's not like, I'm not going to do it like because one means one thing and one means the other. They kind of go together, and I couldn't separate them. They're both from Princess and the Frog. So we'll say 2A is Dig a Little Deeper. All right, and 2B is Almost There.
There's been trials and tribulations You know I've had my share, but I've climbed a mountain, I've crossed a river, and I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
Okay, so as I mentioned, both songs are kind of tied together in my little brain, that they have similar meanings about.
It's a little body. It's a giant brain. It's a little body.
But, from what I glean from it is, reflecting on inner strength and being inspired not to see barriers and push beyond challenges that you're faced with. And here's why. When I wanted to go to college, my parents had zero Zippo money to help contribute. And I had to come to the realization that I couldn't let that be the reason for me not to go. I just really wanted to go to college. So I looked at it, different ways, between actually getting a full-time job when I was in my senior year of high school, saving every penny, applying for grants and loans. And lo and behold, somehow I made it. And so that's why I really liked the lyrics from Dig a Little Deeper. It's like where you got to dig a little deeper, find out who you are, dig a little deeper. It really ain't that far, And so if you do, you have that strength inside of you. And then I had, when I was in college, some of you also know the story that I did get pregnant. I had to make a hard decision, knowing that I couldn't support a child on my own, giving my daughter up for adoption. And, I made it through that. And in the long run, as you know, it's been an amazing blessing because we have reunited. And after we did reunite, she got married. She now has kids, and we're all a big happy family. And so, again, going with the lyrics from Almost There, there's been trials and tribulations. I've had my share, but I've climbed a mountain, I've crossed a river, and I'm almost there. Mm-hmm. And sorry, folks.
No, perfectly understandable.
And so, kind of like, again, to summarize, you do have strength inside yourself. Give yourself that credit. And it won't be easy, and you may find other challenges coming at you. Persevere and look back at what you've accomplished and realize from there, it reaffirms to you, you do have that strength. And so whenever you're feeling weak or low, think back and realize, hey, this is tough, but some things can eventually become amazing in the end.
Yeah, agreed. And all great reasons. But one, those are great songs. But
yes.
Two, great reasons for them to being inspirational for you. And by the way, if you haven't heard Michelle's story with her daughter, we do have an episode that goes back to, I think we played it in June of 2019. Look it up. It's a very special Hyperion Adventures podcast where we actually have Michelle's daughter on them together discussing the story of how it all happened and everything. But it is an amazing story, and I think it will touch your heart if you haven't heard it already. So, but great. Those are great choices for both reasons that you're talking about, both you having to struggle to get through college and to put yourself where you are now. And then, of course, obviously the situation with your daughter, which is just a phenomenal story. So nice choice. Michelle's choice. Always the best, of course.
All right, your number two.
My number two comes from one of my favorite recent Disney movies, and that's from Moana. And it might not be, you probably have a song right off the bat that you think I'm going to go for. However, it's not that song. It's not How Far I'll Go. The song that actually inspires me more is I Am Moana, which is also called, it's parentheses, Song of the Ancestors, easy for me to say. And the reason for this is there is a lot of reminding Moana of who she is. If you don't know, again, this is spoilers for Moana. So the movie's been out for a while. I'm sorry, but this is going to be, she's basically at her lowest point in her journey. She's really about to give up on this thing. And then her grandmother, appears basically out of the dead, like a blue, it's like a Force ghost.
Yeah.
It's like a blue glowy, as our good friend Rob LeBerry from the Jedi Temple Archives podcast likes to mention, and talks to her and reminds her, hey, Moana, remember who you are. And then this is what ensues.
I am a girl who loves my island and the girl who loves the sea. It calls me. I am the daughter of the village chief. We are descended from voyagers who found their way across the world. And they call me. I've delivered us to where we are. I have journeyed farther. I am everything I've learned and more. Still it calls me. And the call isn't out there at all. It's inside me. It's like the tide, always falling and rising. I will carry you here in my heart. You remind me that come what may, I know the way. I am Moana.
Now, the reason why I picked this song so much is because I think that this is important for every single one of us at some point in your life, and could be on a weekly, monthly basis or whatever. Sometimes you need to remember who you are.
Right.
You know, sometimes you need to step back and have your I am Moana moment. where,
Right.
like, look, I'm feeling down, miserable about myself, miserable about the way things are going in my life, whatever. And then just sit there for a second and go back and say, I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. You know what? I am, say your name and remind
Right.
yourself exactly who you are. I think this is such obviously it's a huge moment in this film, but it's just a huge moment. And I think that if more of us at times would take a step back and remember who we are, I think it would be hugely inspirational, and it would be big moments for all of us.
Right, absolutely. And you know how this song plays it out, it really does like what you're describing. You know, it starts very soft, almost quiet like thinking, and you know, and it builds and it builds and it builds till you come to the realization that yes, you have inside of you so much to offer.
Right. It goes through, I think it's like 5 chord changes in there
Right.
as Moana is thinking this through, you know, from her lowest moment, building herself
Right.
up, building herself up until she finally hits that crescendo where she's, I am Moana. It's just, hey, at Lin-Manuel Miranda, if you ever want to come on the show and talk about that song or anything you've done, we're happy to have you on. But another one of his great songs that he's put together, just a great moment in a great movie. And again, more importantly to me, I just think it's something that we all need to do from time to time.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. It definitely captures that inspiration that you can bring yourself up from a low point.
So that is my number 2 favorite inspirational Disney song. We're up to number 1. Michelle, the big moment is here. What is Michelle's number 1 favorite inspirational Disney song?
Again, another one. Don't laugh. When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio.
Like a moon out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true.
So it's a song that just reminds me of hope, you know, and I know that sounds corny, but I remember even as a kid loving this song, and even when I was, you know, feeling kind of low or sad, thinking about the song, or at night actually wishing on stars, still do it, you know, and hope is a powerful thing. So if you can get back on your feet and try again, that's what this is to me, I see the inspiration. Have that hope that, things can get better.
Yeah. I love it. It's just probably the most classic Disney song there
Right,
is.
very iconic, yes.
But it's extremely inspirational, and hope is a great word for it. What backs it. It's great to have hope, and I feel that song is filled with hope of, of course you're wishing upon the star, hoping that something will happen.
Right.
I find that that's in some ways very, very comforting, and I love it. It's a great choice.
Oh, thank you, honey. Appreciate that. And now your number one inspirational Disney song.
Well, let's see here. I mentioned a song that might have been on my list that, I was going to talk about it later. However, Michelle already did it. Yeah, Michelle's number 5 most favorite inspirational Disney song is actually my number 1, and that is Try Everything from Zootopia. I just love that song.
Yes.
I'm not going to play it again for
Aw.
you. Yeah, sorry. You can go back up the podcast and listen to it again if you want to. But look, that movie is great. I love that movie so much. There's so much depth to that movie. You can look at that film at so many different levels. It's a buddy cop movie. There's so many things that are important to our society now in general, about people, appreciating other people and getting along with other people that maybe aren't necessarily just like you. There's just so much plus, animals in pants. I mean, who doesn't love animals in pants? But the other interesting thing about that song is that most of these songs that we've listed so far come from movies that are musicals. That is not a musical. That is about the only song outside of the credits.
Right.
Yes, there's some background score, of course, but the really only song that plays within the entire movie. But the more important thing is if you just listen to the lyrics, and yes, it's got a great dance beat and all that. It's catchy, whatever the case may be. But I won't give up. I won't give in.
Right.
Sometimes we fail, but we did our best. You go out there, try things, try everything. Sometimes it won't succeed, but if you can pick yourself up and get going again, try it again, try the next thing again. Don't let it bring you down. It's important to everybody's life, and we all face hurdles in our life. We all face troubles in our life, but it's how we pick ourselves back up and go forward, whether it be to do that same thing again or try something different, whatever the case may be. It's really important. And that is what that song is throughout it. The lyrics of it throughout it are all about picking yourself up and keep trying, even if it's scary, even if you have struggles with it, finding your way to battle through it. That's why it is my number 1 inspirational Disney song.
Yeah, and I totally can understand where it being a number 1. It is fabulous as an inspirational song. It does give you that, like you said, in the lyrics, that reassurance of getting back up, going back, a bird getting up and reflying and things like that. And I do think it's an important song in that regards because, it, again, like you mentioned with Frozen, it could be kind of like an anthem as well.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So those are our lists for our 5 favorite
Good job,
inspirational
baby.
Disney songs. A good job by you. You had some wonderful picks in there, and I love them all. We had some listeners that came in with some picks as well. I want to start with Doug, who does subscribe to our newsletter. So he got in first because he emailed us right off the newsletter where we put it out a request for 5 inspirational Disney songs. He came right in and he agrees with the show. When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio is number 5 for him. 4 is Some Things Never Change from Frozen 2. # Real Men Love Frozen. Number 3 is an interesting choice, but I'm kind of inspired by it often when it plays.
Some imagination, huh?
That, of course,
Love
is
it.
the theme from Fantasmic. And I find it funny because part of my inspiration that I get from this song is that whenever the big moments hit, I point my fingers in the air. I just watch Michelle do the exact same thing. It inspires her to do the same thing. The fingers go flying in the air. It's great. Again,
If you're driving, do not lift your hands off the
in one
wheel.
hand. So that's great. Love it. Number 2 for him was Almost There from Princess and the Frog.
Nice.
I'm agreeing with Michelle. And number 1 was Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid, the I Want song
Right.
from The Little Mermaid. And just a gorgeous, beautiful song that I love so much. So thank you, Doug. We also got it chimed in from John on Instagram, who you can find at Vinyl and Disney on Instagram. And didn't shock me that he'd be second in because if you follow him on Instagram, which you should because he has great posts all the time. But one of the most important things he posts all the time is all these new albums he's got. That's why he's Vinyl and
very
Disney.
very into music.
And so it didn't surprise me that he'd be right in chiming in with music. And he says, I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan. I think that's a great choice as
it was
well.
on my honorable mentions list.
Go the Distance from Hercules again. Almost There from Princess and the Frog. Very popular choice so far. Here's one out of Tangle that I just love to death and almost made my list.
He's got a dream, he's got a dream, they got a dream, we've got a dream. So our differences ain't really that extreme. We're all Call us brutal, sadistic, and grotesquely optimistic. Cause way down deep inside we've got a dream. I've 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 got a dream. Yes, way down deep inside I've got a dream. Yeah!
That was pushed out by Show Yourself. It was
Right.
on my list for a second and I got pushed off at the end because I just love the fact that, everybody, we all have dreams.
Right.
And look, they're worth chasing. We all have them.
That's
Go out
right.
and follow, you try and get your dream. And I love that. And it's just a fun song.
Yeah,
too.
definitely.
So,
So good choice.
great choice. And then also he put down How Far I'll Go from Moana, which is obviously a great choice.
Yes.
And I'm surprised it didn't make either of our lists, but
Right.
makes sense. Jocelyn, who you can find on Twitter at Disney Gratitude 1, said number 1 through 5, Go the Distance, which I totally get.
Definitely.
Yes,
Definitely.
Totally relate to that. Great choice. Nate and Serena, who you can find on Twitter at DVC Duo, said in no particular order, Try Everything from Zootopia, Circle of Life from Lion
Nice.
King, Out There from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, When You Wish Upon a Star, Pinocchio, Two Worlds, One Family from Tarzan.
Nice,
and
yes.
they basically said, we're always up for some Phil Collins. So there you go.
I get it.
At Disney Details, who you can find on Twitter at Disney Details, says, well, basically everything from Moana on repeat. So I think that's a good time for us to go ahead and play this song.
The light from the sky is the sea. It calls me, and no one knows how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, one day I'll know how far I'll go.
Another fantastic song
Yes.
from Moana, and definitely a very inspirational song. I mean, and like,
Concur.
no one knows how far I'll go.
Right.
You know,
That you
and-
just
yeah,
keep at it.
totally makes sense. And I agree. The music from Moana is so good. And there's many inspirational songs depending on what you're looking for on a day-to-day basis, as far as being a voyager, whether, staying home actually is everything you need is right at home. I know that was counterintuitive to what Moana was trying to do in the film, but it's also very important for some people
Sure.
to know, like, we have everything you need on our island, at your home, whatever
Right.
the case may be. So many great songs. Disney Details also wanted to put out there the first song from Brave, which I believe is this one.
Where dark woods hide secrets and mountains are fierce and bold, deep waters hold reflections of times lost long ago. I will hear every story, take hold of my own dream, be as strong as the seas are stormy and proud as an eagle's scream. I will ride, I will fly, chase the wind and touch the sky. I will fly, chase the wind and touch
Yeah, so Touch the Sky, I
Right.
believe, is the song they're referring to here. And that's a fantastic.
Yes.
I think the music in Brave is extremely underrated. It's
Oh
got
my
that
gosh, it's
wonderful
fabulous.
Scottish feel to it.
Right.
But it's really excellent music. And I know you love it for sure.
I love it. There's a lot of variation in it. It's not all the same type of song. But yeah, and that song was just eked out of my list as well. So
right.
it's a great choice. It's an awesome song.
Definitely. Great choice. Thank you at Disney Details. Finally, from Nick Salceda, who we talked about a little bit earlier, who's on Twitter at TTA_team_lead. He said, oh, this one, I love this one because this actually, it inspires me every single time we get to go see this out at the Walt Disney World Resort.
And so our journey comes to an end, but yours continues on. Grab hold of your dreams and make them come true. For you are the key to unlocking your own magic. Now go, let your dreams guide you. Reach out and find your happily ever after.
The battles, the stories, the losses, and all the glory.
We're changed by the way we live every day. Just look up and reach to the sky. We all have the courage to fly.
You can fly. You can fly. You can fly.
When we look inside, there in your eyes, just
I love Happily Ever After so much.
Exactly.
I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's because we saw it like literally days, like just a couple days after it first
Right.
debuted, and we got to see Jordan Fisher and I'm going to blank on her name, Angie Kielhauer, I believe is her name, come out and perform it
Right.
for
On
us
the-
after
on
the,
the stage,
show
yeah.
or whatever. But there's just so much behind Happily Ever After as far, reach out and find your
Right.
happily ever after. All the different portions within it are very inspiring in many different ways. They're
Right.
inspiring songs, including Go the Distance for that matter. But that's it. It's like, hey, find out what your happily ever after
Right.
is
And go for
out
it.
and get it. And that show, I think this was on the Disney Songs That Make Us Cry because that makes me cry
Yeah,
every
I
single
know, me
time I
too.
go see it. I'm very inspired by it. Nick says, Happily Ever After brings me to tears while holding my girls every
Aw.
time. I know, right? All right, now it's my
Damn
turn.
it.
Now it's my turn.
Me too.
I love it so very much. I know a lot of people miss wishes out there, and I totally
Yes.
understand that. There's just something about Happily Ever After, and like I said, maybe it's just when we saw it.
Right. I don't know. It's
my
a
feeling,
great
but
song. I think we
love
would
it.
have loved it regardless
it
because
so
we
much.
weren't expecting that. It was a special surprise that happened, but I think we were already enthralled with that song from the get-go.
Right. So, great choice. He also went on to say "Almost There" from Princess and the Frog, "Into the Unknown" and "Let It" from Frozen 2, and "Let It Go" from Frozen. #Real Man Love Frozen. All really great songs. So those are the ones from our listeners. We have some honorable mentions as well. Michelle, do you have any left on your list?
I don't know. I think we might have mentioned this. I'll Make a Man Out of You from Milan, but
Right.
also Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes from
that's
Cinderella.
Interesting choice. Yeah, I love that one. That's a
about
good
you?
choice. Well, how about "On My Way" from Brother Bear? I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
a huge Brother Bear as
Right.
far as the film fan, but that song is a great song.
Definitely.
"I'm on My way." One of our favorite movies out of the 90s has got to be the Goofy movie. And I think this is kind of a great inspirational song.
All I need is half a chance on second thought, a second glass of brew. I got whatever it takes. It's a piece of cake. To stay Christmas.
Yeah, that one it was. I don't know why I didn't put it as an honorable mention because it was one that I was thinking about too. It is a great song. It is an inspirational song, so it hits all the boxes of this episode. So love it.
Stand out. Go out there and stand
Yep.
out above the crowd, even if
Take
you have
that
to
risk.
shout out loud. So you notice me, you
Right.
know,
Well, even in
be
that,
afraid.
and then
Don't be afraid. I
Yeah,
should
that's
say.
right. And in that movie, I mean, that's what he was. He was taking a risk of trying to capture the attention of somebody he was interested in, and it was a risky deal. And plus, not to mention risky to do something like that at school. And-
Yeah. That's another thing. But, really great. I also put down I See the Light from Tangled. I think that's, fun. And Now I See the Light. I
Right.
think it's just a wonderful, touching song, but also it's a beautiful song. But I think it's very inspirational. How about You Can Fly from Peter Pan?
True.
Think of the happiest things. It's the same as having wings. You can fly. You can
That-
fly. You can fly. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
a very inspirational
Very,
song.
very true.
So that's it. That's all my honorable mentions. Nothing else. That's our list of our favorite inspirational Disney songs. Again, we'd love to know what yours are. If you didn't chime in before this point, but still want to, let us know. We will share them on a future show. So email us, hit us up on social media, whatever the case may be.
Right. And if you have a special story with it, let us know that too. Because, that's what also makes these songs touch us is because of our personal experiences.
Absolutely. So thanks to everybody who chimed in. And I think we had some fun lists. And I'm looking forward to hearing some more from those of you out there who have not chimed in yet. So, yeah. So that's it. Let's move into our Disney stories of the week. Every week there's so many Disney stories I want to go through. This one's going to be very Star Wars heavy, by the way. I'm just going to let you know our Disney stories of the week. Star Wars heavy.
That was
this
what
week.
was happening.
Right, because that was pretty much the news, especially out here on the West Coast. And that's because Star Wars Rise of the Resistance opened on Friday, the January 17th, at the Disneyland Resort. We were glued to social media early in the morning, kind of watching. We decided not to venture up there yet because we've already gone on it at the Walt Disney World Resort, and we will get our chance to go up there eventually. But we wanted to check out what the scene was like for opening day, and it was really an interesting scene.
It really was. Thank you to everybody who was out there and posting. It was really fun to go through that with you all and see how things were going, because you never really know, especially in this situation where it had opened up on the East Coast already. So it was kind of like a second opening. But for people who live closer to here, would they all try to go at the beginning, or would people shy away from the crowds and hold back? So it was kind of interesting to find out how they were actually going to have it happen.
Yeah, it seems to have gone pretty well so far. They have had the usual, as you would expect, just like they have at Disney's Hollywood Studios at the Walt Disney World Resort. They have had, occasional things break down. There are so many systems at work in this attraction that, because, everybody says the same thing. It blows your mind.
Right.
I would completely say that. But there are so many components that, things can happen. But so far, they seem to be going through pretty well. Getting through that morning, there were people lining up before 2 a.m. To get in there. And it seemed like most of the people that got in there before opening were able to ride it that day, at least that we saw. Even though there were some malfunctions with some animatronics and some other things, there's always a B mode for various different parts of it that they can go through. But one thing I'm going to say about this is, I know there are people out there lining up at 2 a.m. to get in there, but people, you don't need to do that, okay? You just need to line up there in time to be inside the park when it opens at 8 a.m., okay? So if you show up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, when it opens at 8 a.m., you're going to get into the park, okay?
Right.
They opened the gates early this time, staged everybody on Main Street, at least for opening day. And one thing I did note and I thought was interesting, and I probably, since I did the tip on how to get onto Rise of the Resistance last week, I think I should add this to it. There are kiosks throughout the park where you can go in, just like getting the paper fast pass at Disneyland. You can actually go and sign up for your boarding group that way. It wouldn't hurt you to while you have the app open and trying to go to the app, go ahead and head straight to those kiosks.
Right.
And just in case, for whatever reason, you're not getting through on the app, you can have this paper backup, this other
True.
backup to make sure you get through and find a boarding group. So, and if you're in line and you get your boarding group anyway,
Right.
then you don't have to worry. You can just leave the line and move on and have fun on your day. So,
Good idea.
yeah. So anyway, along with Rise of the Resistance opening, a few new items are making their debut at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at the Disneyland Resort. This from the Disney Parks blog. With Star Wars Rise of the Resistance opening on January 17th at the Disneyland Resort, now is the time to uncover new specialty bites, bites, and unique merchandise offerings in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. You can stop by Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo and Ronto Roasters for a warm cup of Black Spire hot chocolate topped with shimmering whipped cream.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Over at the milk stand, you can taste the new Toydaria Swirl, which is your favorite green milk, with taking on a new mission with swirls of savory chili lime seasoning and mango jelly. Beautiful
Wow,
looking, and
yes.
people were giving it some compliments from what I saw on social media.
That's awesome.
Might have to check that out
Yeah.
next time we get to Black Spire Outpost. Lastly, a day spent on Batuu would not be complete without trying the new Galma garlic puff cheese chips. So I think it's kind of like a garlicky
Because it has the
Cheeto
word
or
garlic in
something
it. That's
like
really
that.
good.
Yeah. See?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
I
you
do
there.
have ESPN. They say to try this intergalactic delight at Jet Cause. I think it's Jet Cause. Coolers located throughout Black Spire Outpost. It's basically where you get the funny Coke bottles,
Right.
The ones that look like the thermal detonators out there. Yes, yes. You did that with your mouth. It's a rock.
No, it's not.
You can also show that you're hashtag resistance ready with merchandise inspired by Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. The Cosmic Collection includes tees, t-shirts, a tumbler, a baseball cap, and an exclusive trading pin. And if you're more inclined to support the First Order with their mission to win the hearts and minds of the locals within Batuu, then the First Order Short-Range Evacuation Vehicle playset is for you.
Nice.
The playset features a First Order transport with its own R5 series astromech droid and can be found at First Order Cargo. It's kind of similar to something you experience without giving it too much away
Right.
within Rise of the Resistance. So
Right.
they're kind of interesting. So
Cool.
new stuff to eat, new stuff to check out or wear or when
Or
you're
play with.
Yes, when you're out at Black Spire Outpost at the Disneyland Resort. No word yet on when or if those will be debuting out at the Walt Disney World Resort, but it wouldn't shock me if they do eventually.
Right, yeah.
Very cool. Finally, one last story from me. And it's another Star Wars related story. If you love Baby Yoda, well, there's a new way coming for you to bring him into your home. This from USAtoday.com. Build-A-Bear announced Tuesday that Baby Yoda is coming soon to its stores nationwide. Sharon Price John, Build-A-Bear's CEO, revealed it would release the toy at the ICR 2020 conference in Orlando. She said, quote, "I'm excited to share that we will be one of the first companies to be able to provide the new digital and internet phenomenon who actually is trending higher than all the presidential candidates combined. If any of you have seen The Mandalorian, we now have the child, also known as Baby Yoda," end quote.
Gotta have it.
I know.
Gotta have it.
We're making our plans to go to Build-A-Bear right now, right?
Exactly.
So, no date is set yet for the release. At least that's what they said. But they said it will be within the next couple of months. We also don't know how much it'll cost, but I'm thinking, judging from Michelle's response and my response, it probably doesn't matter. We'll be out there building Baby Yoda sometime soon.
Yeah.
So,
And maybe Scott, he likes Build-A-Bear.
there we go. So there we go. Baby Yoda.
We're doing it for him.
That's it. It's always for him. It's always for the children. That's what we always do it for. So anyway, that's it for my Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you any show without giving you some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation, whether it be to the Walt Disney World Resort, the Disneyland Resort, Run Disney, Disney Cruise Line, the movies, whatever the case may be. And we always start with Michelle, one, because she's inspirational and has the best inspirational Disney song list, but also because she's magnificent, wonderful, and she has the
You're
very
too
best
sweet.
tips. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Okay. Well, thank you, first of all, baby. That's very, very kind of you. You're too sweet. My tip relates to strollers. And, whether you're going to a park for the first time and you never rented a stroller, you might have been somebody who's been going to Disney parks since you were young, and now you're actually grown up and you have your own kids and you're going to rent a stroller. Some things that you may just not have automatically thought about. And this is just, again, a tip to try to make your trip better and more fun. And this one is more kind of like how to easily find your stroller if you are renting a stroller. So you can do some things like bring ribbons, put a balloon, but it's also a way you can be creative about it in your trip planning. So, you might want to get the kids involved and have them make their own name tag, maybe laminated or something like that, but be able to have that on there. When you're at the parks and you're parking your stroller, sometimes the cast members do have to come over and move some of the strollers to a different area. So you want to try to find some way to kind of hone your eyes into your stroller, because it may have been displaced from where you last left it. Or you might go into an area like the Living Seas or the Land Pavilion, and you might be in there for quite a while. And when you come back, there's tons more around your stroller. And so it's just something fun way to pre-plan for your trip is looking at ways to kind of really hone in on your stroller by decorating it a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. But like I said, get the kids involved, or just do different colored ribbons, something that will be able to be memorable when you're trying to find the stroller that you rented.
Yeah. Great point. These strollers, especially when they're renting them, they look almost identical to one another. But even if not, even if you're bringing your own, there are plenty of strollers out there that look very similar.
Exactly.
So anything you can do to kind of decorate them. I remember when we went with your daughter and son-in-law and their kids, and they had the stroller with them, and we were able to find it easily because early on in the trip, they purchased this Olaf balloon that attached to it. So it was always attached to the stroller. We could always find it right away. And, it's Olaf. So #RealManLoveFrozen. So, of course, it was really easily to find. And that is a great one. But you don't have to spend money if you don't want to. Like Michelle said, get the kids involved, decorate it the way you want. You don't need to go and buy these balloons right off the bat if you don't want to. Find different ways to find it. We all decorate our luggage when we, with the standard black luggage or whatever, so you can find it easily enough. Do the same thing for your stroller. It's a great point. Michelle always has the very best tips.
Thank you. And, if for some reason you cannot find your stroller, let a cast member know. They'll pitch in and help you as well. So, anyways, that's it.
Good job, Michelle.
Thank you.
Always has the best tips. My tip is going to be, it's just strictly for Disneyland, but I think it's kind of, and I put this to use, not on our last trip, but I think it was the trip before when we were at the Disneyland Resort. And it's a tip to get a good picture of the castle. Now, obviously, everybody is out front of the castle, Sleeping Beauty Castle at the Disneyland Resort. Everybody is out front taking pictures. There's tons of people there. Sometimes it can be difficult to get this nice, clear picture, find the right spot, not get in anybody else's picture when they're taking it. However, there are a couple of great locations to get really good pictures of the castle that you'll be surprised at how few people will be there. And they are on both wings of the castle. So if you go right before you go to the center, if you go to the right, you'll kind of see this path that leads to the right side of the castle. And there you'll find wishing well that actually Michelle has brought up again. It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs kind of wishing well. Sometimes you'll actually hear Snow White singing from this wishing well. But right on that path right there to the side, it's really, most people don't it's kind of hidden, so most people don't see it. There's great views of the castle, especially lit up at night. You can really get a really good and interesting picture from there. And on the other side, the same thing. There's another path. If you go past the Royal Theater on the left, there's another path that kind of goes up there by the water. Hardly anybody ever walks. They kind of get to the Royal Theater and stop if they even go to the Royal Theater. It's another wonderful place to get a very clear picture. You can get a selfie. You can get somebody else to take a picture of you in front of the castle, or just take some great views of the castle. Really, these are wonderful places, especially if you already have so many pictures at the front of the castle, or it's just so crowded. These are spots where you might be able to get a beautiful, beautiful picture while you're visiting the Disneyland Resort, specifically Disneyland Park.
That is a great tip, because, coming home with awesome pictures is something that we're always striving for, no matter how many times you go. You get there and you're like, oh, this castle is just so beautiful. And that is true, that, especially Sleeping Beauty's castle is smaller than Cinderella's castle. A little bit. And so, the crowds around it get congested, and so having those other options to capture special moments is a great tip. Great idea, honey.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously get the picture out front of the castle. You want that view, but every once in a while you want a different kind of angle on the castle.
Right.
Also, the back of the castle is a really interesting. You can walk because you can walk. I mean, I know you can do it sometimes at the Walt Disney World Resort at Magic Kingdom Park, but it's not always open that you can just walk through the castle. It's almost always open at Disneyland where you can just walk through the castle. On the backside, there's some interesting views of the castle as well that you can take some pictures of. So I'd recommend that as well. So,
and if you do go through Sleeping Beauty's castle and look at the drawbridge, realize it is a real working drawbridge.
Yeah, they could pull that thing up and shut you off if they wanted
That's
to.
right.
They haven't done that in a long time, but they could
throw you into the moat.
That's right. That's right. So that's it for this week's show. Next week, we're getting set to head, speaking of Disneyland, to Disneyland After Dark 80s night. And to get you all set for that, we thought we'd look back at kind of this decade that most people don't really think about as far as Disney, and that is the 80s. So we're going to look back at a lot of things about Disney, and you'd be surprised at how much happened with Disney in the 80s. And we're going to talk about a lot of that, whether it's park stuff, whether it's movie stuff. We're going to talk all about that coming up on our next episode.
Right. In fact, Michael Eisner kind of claimed it as the Disney decade. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about some of that history and why that was kind of the term at that time.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun build up for our evening out at the Disneyland After Dark 80s night. And by the way, if you're going to that, we'll be there too. So try and find us.
Know.
Yeah, we'd love to know what you're wearing, by the way. We're trying to figure out what our outfits are going to be right now. But it'll be fun to talk about Disney in the 80s, just like we talked about last year, Disney in the 90s, if we're 90s night out there.
Right. It'll be fun kind of reminiscing with some of those songs too.
Yes, absolutely. So that's it for today. We appreciate that you joined us. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. While you're there, why don't you just go ahead and sign up for the newsletter?
Yes, indeed. And as we saw with Doug, you get some advance information about upcoming things.
That's right. It's the best way to find out what we're doing, what we've done in the past, what we have coming up. And if there's any way you can be a part of the show, we'll put it out there, whether it be, something as far as input into a topic, whether it be a giveaway we have coming up. We all put it out there on our newsletter first.
And for those of you who have already signed up for it, thank you.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. It's been fun having that interaction with you all too.
Yeah, really, really great. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to chime in with anything, whether it be suggest a topic, if you want to give us your 5 favorite Disney inspirational songs, whatever the case may be, you can hit us up on social media, but you can also email us at HyperionAdventurespodcast@gmail.com.
Right. And the other thing that we really want to leave you with, if possible, please tell a friend about our podcast. We really appreciate it, and it really does help us, and it helps others who are looking for Disney podcasts.
Yes, any podcast that you enjoy, tell your friends about them, including us, hopefully, but also, a rating, review. All podcasts appreciate that very much. So that's it. Thank you for listening to the Hyperion Adventures podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical and inspirational week.
Bye.